Today we're having a look at a video called Why Are Atheists Not Anti-Natalists? This is from someone I responded to a while ago, and he seemed quite interested in my response and actually came to me and asked me to respond to another one of his videos. Now, this is not the video he asked me to respond to. I did watch the one that he sent me, and it was about 15 minutes long and basically repeated a lot of what I'd already responded to previously. So that one didn't catch my interest enough, but this one's a little more interesting. Now, to be clear right from the start, this video is not really about anti-natalism. I don't find that to be an interesting topic at all. No, this video is about how this guy thinks atheists should or even must view the world, and how we should feel about it, given our position on the God question.
Welcome guys, today we're going to be talking about anti-natalism.
Yeah, but like I just said, not really though. We're going to be talking about your views on atheism.
Why are atheists not anti-natalists?
Well, some are. Are you asking why not all are? I would have thought the answer's obvious. They're two different positions on two completely different questions. Why would they have 100% overlap?
Anti-natalism is the idea that there shouldn't be any reproduction. We shouldn't bring people into this world. Procreation is evil. Don't bring another being into this world. And that's the position of anti-natalists.
I'd say that's a reasonable enough summary, at least as I understand it. And as you say, yes, that's what anti-natalism is. So the reason not all atheists hold that position is because that's not what atheism is. It has no implicit relationship to the question of whether God exists, although if you wanted to, you could choose to interpret them as being related. You could make up some kind of a connection, but that's not going to be a connection that everyone else is going to agree with you about, because it's a matter of interpretation.
So my question is, why are atheists not anti-natalists?
Didn't you just say that?
Even after taking a stance against God, which means that life is meaningless and purposeless. There's no end goal.
So if you don't believe in God, that means life is purposeless and meaningless. Well, that's just false. I see purpose and meaning all over the place. What you mean is the universe doesn't mean or have purpose to some God, but that's irrelevant. It has meaning and purpose to me. What seems meaningless and purposeless to me is spending my time worrying about what someone who's not me thinks something means or what the purpose of it is. Like if I think something means A and you think it means nothing, I don't care. Think what you want. It's your mind. Do with it as you wish. That doesn't change what the thing means to me. That has zero impact on what the thing means to me, and likewise with a God. What's the difference? Well, from what you said, it seems that the difference is that there's an end goal, supposedly, if there's a God. I assume the end goal being get to heaven, cross the finish line, after which everything's meaningless and purposeless because now there is no end goal because now you're just in heaven for eternity, which doesn't strike me as the most inspiring message. Be alive for all eternity, completely void of meaning and purpose. In any case, what life or something within life means to me, or what I think its purpose is, from my perspective has nothing to do with some end goal. It's like asking why I go out for a nice meal. What's the end goal of going out for that meal? It's to have a nice meal? No, that just applies while you're having the meal. What's the end goal? What final eternal consequence does it have? It doesn't have any, it's just a nice meal. Oh, that's so meaningless. You're such a nihilist. You don't think anything matters. What are you talking about? It's a nice meal. It's enjoyable. If I got the meal and it turned out that they served me literal shit on a plate instead, that also has no end goal or eternal consequence. But that would mean something to me. I have a purpose for wanting that nice steak and twice-baked potato I ordered instead of a steaming pile of shit. But why do you care? It won't matter tomorrow. It'll all be the same then. Yeah, but this isn't tomorrow. It's today. And today, I would like my steak, please. Please return the poop platter to the kitchen.
All we have in this life is suffering and possibility of dying.
Really? That's all we have in this life? So, you got some trouble at home? You want to talk about it?
So why would an atheist bring a child into this world? Why would you do that?
Well, there's many reasons somebody might bring a child into the world, but you don't really mean why would someone bring a child into the world, right? What you mean is why would someone not refuse to do it because they hate the world they're in? Why would someone not spend their day dwelling on how supposedly meaningless and purposeless and lacking an end goal and full of suffering and the fear of death the world is, to the point of basically locking themselves up in their room and crying for the rest of their life instead of engaging with the normal aspects of a human life? And I suppose the answer, most commonly, is that they don't agree with you, because these are your thoughts, not theirs.
I'm not talking about abortion here, because...
Why do you have one of those little bell things that goes when a customer enters the store? Are you at work right now? Is this really the best use of your time?
Abortion, you already did it. Why don't you always use protection?
Well, I guess the first thing is, if this is an atheist who actually believes everything you're saying, that everything is meaningless and purposeless and who cares, then what's the difference between using protection beforehand or getting an abortion afterwards? In that case, there would be no distinction to be made, right? Meaningless action A or meaningless action B. For that matter, it'd be the exact same if you kept the pregnancy, had the baby, raised it, supported it throughout its life, and then died with a smile on your face surrounded by your children and your grandchildren. It's no less meaningful, it's no more meaningful, right? If what anything is allowed to mean, or what purpose it's allowed to have, is always only zero, then the meaningfulness of all actions is equivalent. In which case, you asking why people would not be antinatalists is answered, because there would be as little point to being an antinatalist as to being anything else, or doing anything else. So we're less than a minute into the video, and your conundrum is already solved. Completely. There's nowhere to go from here.
And stop giving birth. Atheists, all atheists, just stop giving birth.
Another question that does not need to be asked because it's already answered by your very silly premises. If a person like this exists, then whether you give birth or not doesn't mean anything, so who cares? In that case, it doesn't matter if you use protection, and it doesn't matter if you don't. A person who truly believed what he's saying atheists must believe would just do whatever felt right, I guess, or whatever felt wrong, or really anything else, because it doesn't matter. If you really think atheists have this idea, then you shouldn't have any questions about why any atheist does anything, because the answer will always be the same.
Because you are bringing a being into this world that you didn't ask for permission.
Yeah, that's how animal reproduction works. Consent is not a relevant factor here. You can't ask someone who doesn't exist what their opinion is. This is just a silly, pointless concern. And I would think that even more so if I actually believed everything was meaningless and pointless. If I didn't care about anything, why would I care about this? You're saying this as though I would, but that makes no sense. It's self-contradictory.
You didn't ask that being for permission. You brought him into this world. You will have to live and have a possibility of suffering, and also a possibility of dying. The angst, the existential crisis that we already face being alive. No one consulted us. No one asked us for permission, and we are giving birth to, and we have to suffer whatever it is life throws at us, and we have to think about dying as well.
Alright, so of course it goes without saying that the answer to everything you've just said is you've assigned a belief to me that I believe everything is meaningless and pointless and nothing matters, and so who cares? What you say or feel or anyone else does is as irrelevant as anything else. That's the only possible answer under the conditions you've laid out. Now, basically what you've said is, how could you bring someone into the world if they might suffer and they might be scared of dying and they might feel existential angst? Living sucks. Nobody asked me if I want to come into the world. They just brought me in here and I had to suffer through some stuff and be scared of stuff. Okay, so it sounds like you are consumed by fear. The fear of maybe suffering at some point, the fear that at some point you might suffer, the fear that at some point you'll die. This is something that you've allowed yourself to dwell on in an extreme way, to the point that you seemingly have convinced yourself that it's better not to live than to live. You seem to see everything through a negative lens, a pathetic little lens of fearful, cringing cowardice. And it seems to me that to satisfy yourself, you're essentially demanding that everyone else must think in this way as well. But it seems to me that most of us just don't. Yeah, from time to time it's easy to fall into an unhealthy outlook on your life, but I don't think most of the time most people are immersed in this deep black pit of negative interpretations that you seem to have decided to drown yourself in. I think most people have some degree of adjustment to the world as it is, some degree of adjustment to there being negative things in the world, yes, but also to the fact that there are positive things, which in most cases vastly outweigh the negative. You're not trapped in an oubliette. Your life is definitely not as bad as it gets. You're wearing a comfy looking hoodie, you're sitting there in the sunlight in the back of the grocery store, playing with your little camera, making YouTube videos. Maybe there's something going on in your life that's making you feel bad, and I understand that, I've been there. Or maybe you're reading some kind of philosophy books that make you feel bad. I know that you're really into the existentialists, those irritatingly touchy-feely kind of philosophers who are obsessed with feelings, and who spend all their time thinking about fear and anxiety. No thank you, man. Life is what you make sake of it, I don't have time for that. Now, you're trying to say that you don't feel this. Other people are supposed to feel this when they're not religious. You don't feel this because you're religious. But listen to you, man. Listen to how these ideas are affecting you. This entire thing is projection. This is not you accurately enumerating the fears of other people. This is you venting your own fear, your own anxiety that you've created within yourself. I don't share it. Why would I? There's no objective truth to this fear of life being a hell of suffering and fear of death. Not an objective truth beyond the feelings of any random person, I mean. To me, and seemingly, to my knowledge, to the vast majority of people I've ever met, many of whom are atheists, as you might expect, the world's fine. Flawed, yes. Occasionally not so great, yes. But overall pretty good. And I know I'm speaking anecdotally here, but on this subject there's really nothing else I can do. In my experience, the people who I've met who do struggle this hard with these kind of things are the people who are leaving religion, or even the ones who are still in it, who are struggling with these poisonous messages that religion puts into them. These messages of meaninglessness and purposelessness and the incredible terror of death. These are not messages of atheism. Not in and of itself, certainly. These are messages of specific sorts of philosophies, including a lot of very common religious ideas. And that goes double if what you say atheism is actually true. If atheism really is to believe that everything is meaningless and purposeless. Because then death means nothing. It's not something to worry about. Suffering means nothing. It's not something to worry about. It would be the ultimate form of stoicism. Got bad news? Meh, who cares? Got good news? Meh, who cares? You realize you've been in a horrible car wreck and you're about to die? Meh, who cares? Dude, that's badass. That's awesome. I almost wish that's what atheism was.
Wouldn't it be better not to exist at all?
I don't know. Ask all the people who don't exist and all the people who do. We'll take an opinion poll. I know where I'd put my money on that one.
So what you're doing is this. You had the option of not existing at all and existing.
No, I didn't have that option. That's what you just said. I'm kind of glad I ended up here for a bit, though. I'm pretty glad that they didn't wait to ask my opinion first.
And going to face the possibility of dying. Most people rather choose not existing. Why would I want to exist for that?
Do you want to run a poll about this? Hey, would you rather never have existed instead of being alive? Oh, some people will say yes. I'm aware of that. But you've made the claim that most people will, because apparently they're so terrified of dying. Everybody's shaking so hard in their boots that they spend time sitting around going, I wish I'd never been born. I wish I'd never been born. I'm so scared. Look, I don't have data on that. Why would anyone have data on that? But I'm sorry. I'm just going to assert this as a fact. That is such horseshit. You're terrified of this. That's you. Trying to project this onto other people, especially other people in these aggregate groups, like atheists in general, doesn't change the fact that it's all you. If you're afraid, I'm sorry for you, but that's a problem for you to work through. It's not a problem that applies to everyone else in the world just because it applies to you. What you need is not to ramble and lie about atheists on the internet again and again and again and again and again. What you need is to sort your shit out. That's the healthy path forward. Trying to drag other people into your problems or make your problems about other people doesn't fix anything for you.
The uncertainty and all of that. And by the way, even if you think people should exist, why would you bring a being you didn't ask for permission? Why would you do that?
Oh, so now I don't think everything's meaningless? Now I believe people should exist? Or if I don't believe that according to you, it's at least a possible option now. It wasn't 1 minute ago. Alright, so the answer to, if I believe people should exist, why would I make a person exist, is that I believe people should exist. That's another answer that seems pretty self-evident. Why do you keep asking these questions that answer themselves?
Notice, atheists. Atheists are not just some kind of, they're a special group of people. They're people usually against the religious people, usually against the existence of God.
Atheists are usually against religious people or against the existence of God? No, atheists are usually people who, have jobs and lives and just kind of do their thing. People like me, we're weirdos. We are very much the exception and not the rule. But even I'm not against the religious people, nor am I against the existence of God because there's nothing there to be against. Imagine me going out with a billboard and chanting, God, stop existing! God, stop existing! Would I even be an atheist if I did that? I kind of don't think so, unless it was just as a joke of some sort.
So they've taken a stance. They're not just some random people they have actually taken an active stance, most of them.
No, most atheists have not taken an active stance, in the sense that they don't spend their time talking about it or actively oppose religion or theism. People have got other stuff to do.
So I wonder why they would not be anti-natalist.
You've answered your question in multiple different ways already. According to your own false characterization of what an atheist is and what an atheist believes, there's no reason to be an antinatalist. And then, of course, according to what an atheist actually is, there's no real reason to be anything in particular. Take your pick. Atheism is just one position. Whatever else you believe is up to you.
And you know what? What's funny is that I wanted to title this video that this is how we can reduce the population of atheists.
How? By convincing atheists that there's no purpose to anything and therefore there's a really important purpose in being an antinatalist? Aside from the fact that that's obviously not going to work, how do you think that makes any sense?
Because, in my own opinion, the only people that should be doing this, that should not be anti-natalists, should be naive people that just, they don't even think about most things, and religious people.
But I repeat myself. Is that too mean? I've been told I'm getting soft in my old age, so no, I guess. Sorry.
That have a hope, that have a meaning, that there's more to this than just being alive, and we have to do this.
Wait, are you saying that's why religious people have babies? Because you're trying to achieve a goal and therefore you have to do it? Okay, I'll make the kid if I have to, I guess. There better be a good reward for this, because I don't want to do this at all. Seriously? Is that how it was in your family? Because that's horrible, man. Like, that is so sad. For kids to be seen as an unwanted obligation. And if you're coming at it from the position that life is hell and consists of nothing but suffering, and it should never be inflicted upon anyone, but you do it anyway because you're going to get a reward for it, that is so screwed up in so many different ways. I mean, at least the atheists you're talking about, if they're deciding to have kids, they're not doing it out of some sort of obligation. They're doing it because it's something they want and something that they feel is a good thing. Not because it's something that's bad that they're forced to do. Maybe you're confused how people can think that way when they don't believe in God. You seem to be very confused about that. But I don't think you can deny that it's a far more happy way to go about your life.
You know, apart from them, those two are the only ones that can be spared the quote-unquote naivety. You, as an atheist, you cannot be spared it. You already know too much.
You can't bring a baby into the world with genuine good intent, atheist. You already know too much. Oh, what do I know about? How garbage the world supposedly is? How nobody should want to be here? No, I don't know that. You apparently know that, or at least think that. You're trying to convince me of it, and it's not working at all, because you just kind of rant about it and insist that it must be true without ever giving me a reason to believe it is.
You are an atheist scientist. Okay, what does science have to say? What is the scientific position? You always quote science. This is why I always wonder, what is wrong with you people? Shut up, man.
Okay. I'm shutting up. Go ahead.
What science are you talking about? Okay.
With regard to whether I should become a father? I mean, I already did, but, if I weren't already one. What science am I talking about? Folic acid is good during pregnancy? Like, what do you mean science? What does science have to do with whether I decide to become a parent?
Science has to come and decide now.
No, I do. Science is not the dictator of my dick. My dictator, if you will. Sorry for the dad joke. It's my job now.
Should we be anti-natalist or not?
I always thought antinatalism was kind of a cringe position, like being an incel or something. So, in my opinion, it's not the best move, but, do what you want. I don't care.
What is the scientific position?
The scientific position on whether I should decide to be an antinatalist? There isn't one. Why would there be one? Antinatalism isn't even a question of fact. It's not like being an atheist where it's a position on a factual question. The whole thing is purely subjective.
What is the scientific... Science has nothing, zero to say on this.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
What would it say?
You already said what it'd say. Nothing. Why would it have anything to say on this kind of question?
That there's a scientific evidence that people should live and die?
No.
Or why you must give birth?
No. Why are you treating this like something that I have to wait for orders about? Like, as an atheist, unless science insists that you must have a baby, then I guess you must not? It's like what you said with the religion thing. Religion allows you to have babies because you must. You feel like you have to. It's some kind of weird obsession with authority. I don't have that, so your entire question just seems very stupid.
Of course not. There's no scientific evidence. Science doesn't go to that level.
I'm not sure what you mean by level, but right. Questions of which subjective opinion you should have are not scientific questions, no. Science is concerned with figuring out reality, not with dictating how you should feel at every given moment.
This is the level of religion. This is the level of mythology.
Making my own decisions without relying on external authorities and religious rules is a religion? Okay, that seems like the opposite of reality, but if that's how you feel...
You guys are mythologists, and that's why I call you mythologists sometimes.
Mythologists. What's the myth again? You just kind of say stuff, huh?
So the point is that, see, the option is not about not existing and having a good life. No, even if you have a good life, you still have that possibility of dying. You're still going to be thinking about death.
Sure, I guess the thought might occur to you once in a while. It's not that big of a deal. Especially if nothing matters. How can this matter if nothing does? If you see no purpose in your life, you're not going to fear death or anything else. Your ideas about what an atheist is are so twisted up and contradictory, I don't even understand how you think they fit together.
Why would you bring another being into a world that is meaningless, into a world that is purposeless, into a world that they can suffer?
'Cause meh, apparently. Now, of course, my actual answer is not that. That's just the obvious answer from everything that you've said. My answer, of course, is that I don't agree with anything that you've said. I don't agree the world is meaningless and purposeless and that everything is just suffering and that the fear of death is all-consuming and that it's some great horror, some massive cruelty to bring a human being into the world. I do think there would be a problem if I did it as an obligation to try to attain paradise for myself. I think that would be incredibly cynical and probably very unhealthy for the child. That child could easily end up as a ball of neuroses, panicking all the time about potential suffering and death. But that's not what I did, and I worked quite hard to give my child a much healthier view of life than that. I think it'll be just fine. So far, so good.
Into a world that there are so many uncertainties that is waiting for them. They would rather not have existed.
Yeah, it's always a possibility, but I doubt it. It's not very typical with people. I mean, maybe from time to time a thought like that passes through somebody's head, if they're having a real bad day or a hard year. But you're saying this as if this is how people think all the time. And if that's really the case with someone, that person needs to find some way to try to work through that. This is far from typical. What you're talking about is in the realm of mental illness.
We agree, we're already here.
Yeah, you're here and you don't seem to be going anywhere. It can't be that bad. And it doesn't appear to be that bad. You have time to argue about philosophy on the internet. You might be having some troubles, some sort of emotional problems right now and in recent times, but still try to look at it more objectively. It really can't be that bad, that unbearable. You're trying to paint life as overwhelmingly negative because sometimes you have a negative thought, but that's obviously false. And I'm glad that it's false. I'm glad that you're in a positive enough state of mind to get yourself dressed and groomed, make videos, have passionate opinions, you know? That's good. That shows that you have some kind of a passion for life, even if you intellectually think you don't. You seem to have been convinced by these existentialist philosophers that you've read or whatever, that you should want not to exist. And yet, despite thinking that this is how you're supposed to be thinking, you don't appear to have internalized it that much. You don't appear to really believe it to your core. And that's good because the way you talk at times can be very worrying. But the way that you act sends at least something of a contradictory message, which definitely puts me at ease. Like, I don't want to see you do anything stupid. Life is not as bad as you say, and on some level you know it. And I suspect that means that you'll stick around arguing on the internet with the rest of us, which is exactly where everyone wants you to be. I think you're a good dude. When I talked to you in DMs, you seemed cool. Come to my hangout sometime. We'll talk.
But what about you? You had the chance to stop it. You had the chance to stop it, and you didn't.
The chance to stop what? A person from existing? Yeah, stopping people from existing is not exactly high up on my list of priorities. Just because this is your weird priority doesn't mean it has to be mine. Science didn't order me to do it.
So, I was talking about titling this video. I wanted to title it, How to Reduce the Population of Atheists.
Didn't you just say that? Did I just dream that?
And I dare them to watch this.
Okay, I'm watching it.
And give me an argument of why we shouldn't be anti-natalist, or their position.
It's a matter of personal opinion on how bad living generally is, and I don't think living is all that bad at all. And it definitely isn't for my daughter because I've arranged it that way. Everything's fine. I'm not obligated to share every one of your weird neurotic opinions. That's as much should or should not as there needs to be.
How can they justify bringing another being into this world?
Justify it? Well, I don't feel much need to justify anything, but I guess I could say something like, yeah, it's pretty cool here. We're not like starving, under siege, eating shoe leather. It's pretty good. Everyone seems pretty happy, well adjusted that I see for the most part. You're treating this like as if it's the same kind of question as how can God justify bringing someone in the world just to toss them into hell? It's not comparable. The world is not hell. Shit, I don't even have the fear of death. At least not in like a major way. I hope it's not overly brutal. You know, you talk about this fear of suffering and fear of death like it's some sort of inevitability. For me, it's like, well, when I die, hopefully I've set up my family well enough that they'll be all right. See ya. Not everyone lives in fear, and not everyone trains their kids to fear everything. That's something I've also very carefully avoided. Teaching my daughter fear, because that is something that's learned, and you can teach against it. Imperfectly, I admit, but still reasonably effectively. One of the main characteristics of Christianity and Islam is that they teach fear, and I don't think that's good. I don't think that helps anyone. It ends with people making videos like this.
Okay, that's my question for them. They cannot answer this.
I did answer it. I'm sure you won't be satisfied by my answer, but that's your problem.
And if they listen to the argument, they will either accept it and be like, you know what, that's true. You shouldn't bring children into this world.
Yeah, some people might. Which is weird, because again, this isn't a matter of fact. It's not a matter of true or false. It's a matter of how you interpret life.
So that the world will be, the only people that will be alive will be naive people and religious people.
But I repeat myself. Again. It's getting a little repetitive, isn't it? I'm not sure how much further I want to go with this. I'll give it a chance, but we'll see.
And we take it, we know. We cannot be anti-natalist because we believe in God and we believe in the hereafter.
What does that have to do with it? If the argument is life sucks because you worry about things sometimes, and therefore you shouldn't force someone to exist, that applies to you too. What do you think the distinction is? Because there isn't one.
And by the way, there's another argument that they could actually make against the religious people, especially Christian and Muslim, that if you say you're bringing a child into the world that has a possibility of going to hellfire, you see, they could make that argument.
Yeah, sure. Look, if you tell me, if you bring a child into the world, yeah, that child might have a good life, but sometimes that child also might have to worry about something sometime, I'll be like, what kind of weak shit is that? Oh no, I might worry sometimes. Yeah, okay, fine. I don't have a problem with that. But if you said, hey, if you have this child, you have like a 90% chance of that child going to Muslim hell and roasting forever in a pit of fire, at that point, you know what? I would not have the kid. That's an actual risk. All the stuff you've been talking about, the kid might feel sad one day, might think about death sometimes. That's not an issue. That's not some terrible outcome. It's barely even bad. It's on the level of saying your kid might get bit by a mosquito if you go camping. Wow, who cares? Chuck the tent in the car, let's go. The hellfire thing is more like if I decided to take the kid to the top of a volcano and base jump in. Yeah, I hope you land on one of the rocks that isn't magma and manage to get out before you overheat. That's insane. Yeah, you're right. What you've said is a much better argument against you. So why are you bringing it up like it has anything to do with me?
But it doesn't excuse them of bringing a child into this world also.
I agree, because those are two separate questions. You doing something shitty wouldn't excuse me of doing something similar but much less bad, because they're not connected. I'm saying there's nothing for me to be absolved of because I didn't do anything wrong, and also your argument would make it seem that Muslims have done something wrong.
It's just as bad. It's just as bad.
No, a mosquito bite or a little bit of worry is not equally bad as infinite torture. Your thing is quite literally infinitely more bad.
If you ask most people, they would rather not have existed than existing and then having to die and suffer.
Most people. Okay, well, I can probably count on one hand the number of people I've met who seem to sincerely think that, and everyone else is just like, hey, Merry Christmas, let's eat some cookies, that's fun. I don't know where you're getting this information, but I can guess.
What would I know? Leave me, I was sleeping in my, non-existence, and you brought me into life.
No, you weren't sleeping. If you're sleeping, you exist.
And you talk about problem of evil.
You mean the argument about contradictions in the characteristics defined for certain gods? Yeah, what's that got to do with this?
And you start talking about nonsense stuff. You have the chance. You can do it. Why don't you stop? Why don't you not procreate? Why do you procreate and reproduce and bring more children into the world?
So this is a problem for you because you think life is evil. This is why you think this is somehow a problem of evil. Like, do you see how you don't have an argument? How everything that you say is purely subjective and emotionally based? This video doesn't establish any truth. It's just you whining about your feels for 9 minutes.
Huh? Why do you do that?
Why not? All you've said so far is you don't like it. You're mopey about the fact that sometimes bad stuff happens. How is this spineless shit supposed to make me want to do as you say? If you want me to make decisions just because you said that's the right decision, and repeated yourself a bunch of times, you should start by making me respect you. This does the opposite.
There's no explanation.
Well, no, you explained it perfectly sufficiently at the start of the video with your fake explanation of what atheists think. We should be past that stage by now. You've already explained it for yourself. Nothing matters, therefore it doesn't matter. That's the answer, from your own points. If I give a positive answer in terms of what I think does matter, what would be the point? Why would I spend the time doing that? You're just going to say, actually, no, you don't care about anything, nothing matters to you. You think everything's meaningless and purposeless. So why should I say anything about the other side of the coin? The good of the thing. You'll just insist that I don't really believe that.
We can say that we are believers. We are believers and we have taken a stance that there's meaning to life and we have chosen the right path and we'll go to Jannah and there's hereafter. And that's why we can justifiably bring a child into this world, because we believe we are putting them on the right track to go to paradise.
Well, you just said there's a good chance they won't. So yeah, put them on the right track all you want, but one wrong move and that kid's going to hell. That's some sick shit, man. You think having a child knowing that occasionally that child might worry is unjustifiable, but having that child knowing that there's a good chance of infinite torture is just fine. Totally justified. I don't know how you square those two positions. Anyway, I looked ahead a little bit and he said that agnostics also aren't justified in bringing children into the world because agnostics aren't sure about this whole theism stuff and therefore they're not sure the child won't end up in hell, which seems to reiterate why all of this is so much more of a problem for his own position than for ours. And then he rambles about Schopenhauer and then just says a bunch of the same stuff all over again, and that's it. So I think I'm going to stop it here. Thank you everyone for watching. If you would, before you go, please do give the video a like and click subscribe if you haven't. If you like the channel, maybe consider supporting. A couple bucks per video or per month is enormously helpful, and huge thanks to all of my supporters who've already made that choice. Early access, email list, list.logicked.com, and I'll see you next time.